Well, I'd like to welcome in Justin Wyeth of Aurora University, the coach of both the men's and women's programs, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. So here's your time to brag. You've got an awesome presence on social. You're doing huge things there. You guys have had, at least what I've seen, just a massive turnaround of a program that was basically kind of non-existent until you were there, right? So just kind of go through that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for having me. Like I said, yeah, I've been coaching the women's golf program for about 12 and a half years now. Love it. I've enjoyed it. I've always been in the golf business on the side too. I was at Blackberry Oaks for a while in Orchard Valley, doing some assistant pro management, whatever you'd like to call it.
Yeah.
So I've been always been around the game. And about 6 years ago, I got asked to take on the men's golf team here as well. And long story short, I said I'd take it on for like a semester. Just they had an issue in the middle of the semester. I'll take it on. And yeah, we caught a little fire that semester even. I thought like, wow, I didn't change the roster or anything. And it worked out pretty good. And I was like, I want to stick with this. And ever since, and I am doing coaching both. It's kind of the D3 thing to a certain extent. You coach
Okay.
both a lot of
How does that
times.
dynamic work? Is it usually you as the head coach of both and then have a good assistant on each side?
Yeah, exactly. I look for just good help, part-time help, whatever you want to call it, just can get the team to the events at that point. I try to prep them correctly and, give everyone 50%
Yeah.
time, split up the time, not that one tournament's more important than the other, but there are times that certain things are and just kind of be where I need to be. But yeah, we've had success. I mean, women's teams won, I think now 7 out of the last 8 conference championships. Men have
That's
won
awesome.
5 or 6 in a row. We're looking to win we've won the women's one in the fall here. We're looking to win the men again in the spring. Kind of getting a little nationally ranked, known some numbers, whatever you want to call it, status. Weren't very good 6, 7 years ago, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We weren't even known. And I just think why we've become good is just the opportunities, the experiences that I'm giving the players and the culture and just
Yeah.
really trying to build up every angle, just like I said, the experience, opportunity schedules, chances to play.
You know what I find cool, and I see you doing this. I mean, just because you're so strong on social is, when I was in college at Bradley, I didn't have a real strong connection with my coaches. It was like they're telling me kind of what to work on, what to practice on, but you look like you're kind of really connected with a lot of the players on a personal level.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing. I mean, you know enough about golf. We all know enough about golf. I mean,
Yeah.
the people that are coming in know enough about golf to a certain extent, right? But they don't usually have the same story with someone supporting them or believing in them and or really got their back, not just golf, like in life, whatever. I mean, that's so I feel like I need to be a family member, a friend, but also a boss and a coach at the same time too. So yeah, I'm tough when I need to be tough, and I'm cool when I need to be cool. But I definitely feel
Yeah.
like they need to be bragged about. I say that a lot. The star running back can run for 36 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he's got the front page paper. But
Do you think part of that might be, I my wife played D3 at Illinois Wesleyan, so it was like I always felt like a lot of those teams are made up with those maybe late bloomers or diamonds in the rough that didn't get a whole lot of fanfare, but still great players. I mean, you got guys shooting mid 60s right now. Some of your tournaments.
yeah, I think we long discussion. COVID's kind of changed a lot of that stuff too, with where people are and should be maybe, and that's going to change back here in the next couple of years. So, but yeah, people can flat play now. There's no doubt we're all looking for the diamond in the rough. We're looking for the maybe a kid ranked higher, scoring better than the next. But ultimately, I want people that want to come in and work their butt off. That's all. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm going to give you every opportunity to get better. I'm going to put a lot of different things in your plate and try to get you better mentally, physically, everything. But the number one player has no advantage here over the number 12 player. No disrespect.
right.
I mean, they all have the same advantage. It's just who wants it. You know what I mean? And that's who I'm looking for. There is a reason why number 1 and 2 and 3 are different. They do
Yeah.
things differently. They work harder, and they take advantage of those experiences and opportunities. So yeah,
How,
no,
how
you're
do you guys
spot
kind of
on.
keep that competitive nature or fire tournament to tournament?
How do I keep it for them?
Yeah, do you guys have like qualifying every single tournament or stuff like
Yeah,
that?
I'm
Or
pretty straight up with my rules and how I go about it. I mean, if the team's winning as a team, I'm pretty tough on switching the lineup up, just because team wins are tough in college. It's not the duels.
Oh yeah.
It's not going down the street and playing the little quad or whatnot. So I'm pretty strict on that. But yeah, anytime I need a qualifier or the numbers are close, we're going to get those, let's say two, three, four, or five in a group, or four, five, six, seven, eight in a group, or one, two, three, whatever I need to do, because you ultimately got to be pushed all the time. You got to keep it competitive every day. That's the only way to keep it honorable.
And you're in a unique spot being connected with both teams on a daily basis. What kind of differences do you see in kind of, I don't know, the team dynamic or the type of player between men and women?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think on the men's side, the competitive part is 1,000% the what they want and what they're here for. Never knocking what women do or don't want. That's not my job to say
Mhm.
that's what they don't want, but they do not always excel or expect or know what to do when the pressure kind of comes on, in the sense of like the pushing and like, oh, I got two new girls coming in, they can score this number, who knows what's going to translate to college. But you can almost see the, oh wow, why are they coming, to a certain extent.
Instead
And the
of
guys
the
are
I want
like,
to beat their brains in type of, yeah.
yeah, and maybe they are deep down, but they don't show it.
Sure.
I don't want to pick on my girls, but that's everywhere,
Yeah.
I think. But the
Yeah.
guys are like, yeah, bring Andy on. I
Yeah.
want Andy here. Like, not only is he going to better me, not only is he going to push me, not only do I want to beat him, but if he doesn't, then we got a good team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do see a little difference, but nothing wrong with either side of it either.
Right. On the team side of things, you have an interesting makeup of your lineup. The fact that you get some talent from out of state, which is kind of surprising for kind of a regional D3 school, right? What do you attribute that to? Is that because you're kind of strong presence on social, your success, all those things combined? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the first thing I learned, especially on the men's side, just being a little bit newer to it, there's a lot of schools in the area. I mean, you
Yeah.
got to be on it. You got to be up front. I mean, up and down I-88, there's, I don't know, 10 to 15 pretty nice D3 schools, D2, whatever you want to, whatever you want to call them. So my belief was like, let's build this thing from outside in. So right away, I wanted to get different flavors, cultures, cities, towns into here to show the Chicago area is cool. Golf around here is really good, but ultimately, not to be rude, there's not only just one school in the state of Illinois for these kids in Illinois either. Like,
Yeah.
there are other schools that you can go to and play at. And we're still kind of unknown. I really believe that. I don't like to play the underdog story, but there's a lot of families and students and players, nice players, that have no clue what we're doing, and that's okay. I'm not here to brag about that stuff. I just want people to come by and see that we have a really cool experience and opportunity. But yeah, I like the culture stuff. I like a kid that comes from a California or a Texas and maybe brings that part of them to here, and then brings some of my players back to them on a break or a long weekend, and just to get a different flavor, because I just don't believe the makeup to win can be just 1,000% Illinois kids. Not to, I love my state, I love my guys, I love my girls, but you do have to have a little bit of different feels to truly win, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's good insight. Is there any difference in like the way that kind of the players train between the men's and women's programs? You kind of blend the message together? Is it all one?
I do try to keep it pretty consistent, just because I don't want to feel like it's favoritism either side, but
Yeah.
more so, um, I really, like I said, I think you'll hear it a lot when you do this. The women really want the academic side, no doubt. I mean, they're polished. They have a good game plan. They know what they want. They know what they want to do. They kind
Yeah.
of know where they want to go. They kind of want to, they already almost have their future somewhat planned out. Us guys, let's just play golf until we're,
Right.
until we're 100 years old, and let's just keep talking trash to each other. And I joke about that. My guys got great jobs. They're doing great things. They're all committed to being successful outside of golf as well. But yeah, so the message is a little bit more academic, I guess, if you want to go that. And I'm not lying to anyone. Like, that's our game plan. That's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to build your resume. There's nothing better than a 4-time all conference, 4-time player of the year, whatever you want to call it, to get a job down the line. I mean, even if, for example, for yourself, you'd probably want to hire a young female on my team that has that resume over someone that doesn't, right? So,
Yeah. Please send them our way. Yeah. I would love to
correct.
have a female here.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, but on the golf side of it, yeah, I think the competitive side is got to be there always with the men. And on the women's side, I want the bonding more. I want that, like, everyone to get along, but also let's go kick some butt when we're out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I try to do that. Not perfect at it, you know what I mean? But I'm trying to get better at it, trying to get better at it every day. And,
Right.
I really do believe in the mix though, too. I coach both. I don't want anyone to think one's more important than the other. I try to show them, let's play together. Let's push each other. Females don't want to lose to males. Males don't want to, I like to talk the trash amongst that too, a little bit, to keep it fun. So yeah, it's a little different, but not the basics, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's awesome that you try and take the opportunity to blend them together. We had when I was at Bradley, we had a situation where our men's team was terrible. I mean, we were 400th in D1 or something like that, and our women's program was top 25.
Sure.
And it felt like we just never created those opportunities to play against each other. It's like, hey, this women's program is competing against the best of the best, and we're basically tying with like Chicago State.
Sure. Yep.
No knocks against them, but we were literally once two worst programs in the state of Illinois at the time. But it's just like I just never understood that. So it's awesome that you're doing that there. Um, I'm kind of going to do things a little out of order. You'd hit on kind of the scholarship landscape. How does that work in D3? I know it's a little bit different from maybe D1, D2, or NAIA. How does that work?
Yeah, great question. Just like any other school, there's going to be a tuition, there's going to be a room and board, there's going to be a decision on campus, off campus, and then there's your total. And then you're going to go from only academically on our side are we going to start talking about money. So yeah, we're looking for high-end GPA, high-end students, high-end test takers, or a combo, right? A great or a good GPA with a high academic, with good athleticism too, right? But you're getting nothing, I mean, you said it. I got guys can shoot mid 60s. I got guys that can shoot mid 80s, right? They're getting what they earned. And that's why I've loved the D3. There's none of that discussion at a practice. There's no, hey, Andy, I beat you
Right.
5 days in a row, but I know you got 55% off and I got
Yeah.
40. There's none of that. There's no like ill will on anybody. So I love that angle of it. It's kind of why I've stuck with it a little bit longer. I feel like my guys and girls have heart. They really want to be here to win. They really want to be here to be. I'm not saying the D1 players don't. They want it just as bad.
Sure.
But that extra scholarship and that money usually helps the decision.
Mhm.
So yeah, your GPA is going to be a big thing. Applying on time, getting the paperwork in, the stuff that really shows you care. You got to kind of do the work at your house to get it to us, and then we can look
Yeah.
over it. Yeah, but you're going to get a good chunk. I always lose kids to the lower end D1, D2, NAIA because they don't even apply and get the numbers rolling. So my advice, I don't need you to every kid in the world to apply to Aurora University, but apply to every school that you're kind of interested. If it's free and it takes 15 minutes, and let's get the ball rolling and see where you stand.
That's awesome advice. Awesome
Yep.
advice. So, kind of hopping into that, what's your recruiting process with kind of with scholarships for athletics being kind of off the table? And I know there's some manipulation you can do with the scholarship wise as far as educational, but like run me through that process on how you guys or you tend to go about that.
Yeah, I mean that's the $1 million question right there. I mean, it's where do you start? Who thinks what? Where do they belong? Where do they score? I mean, what you think as a coach to a player, what that player thinks with his family, what that player thinks with his coach in high school, and what I think. It's darn well it's four different answers, right?
Yeah.
So you never want to go too far or too below. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. You kind of do have to group, recruit to a certain extent. I'm not looking at thousands of kids. I'll be honest with you. I think we got a pretty good product. I want to keep it kind of tight knit and
Mm-hmm.
find the guys and girls that make the most sense. But yeah, I mean, it's got to be kind of what you're going to hear, I think, at every level, though. I mean, I do need a little bit of a scoring average. I do need some rankings. But between me and you, I mean, I'm an open book. I'm looking for superstars, but it's got to be all culture people. I will not take on anything with bad GPAs, with an I mentality or attitude, or coming in and the whole team's going to be about you. My guys and girls are saints. They're unreal. I mean, all of them, every one of them. I mean, they came in here, they chose to come here, they picked to come here. They're paying tuition, they're paying to come here. But yeah, you still got to do all the little things. I mean, you got to play in the big events. You got to play and make and miss cuts. You got to do all that. You got to play summer golf. You got to have some instruction, or you better have a high ceiling with someone that's told me. I'm going to do a lot of research. I've called you before. I believe I've called anyone that I can to get research on a player not just because the kid shot 68 at the sectional event in high school. Like I need more than that. I don't, that's not the reason why I'm calling that person. I've gotten 5 or 6 calls. I've gotten the stats. I've heard the good things from your swing coach or your golf course. I've been known to call just golf courses and say, Andy picks up, hey, Andy, hey, do you know anything about Matthew Froffendorf, which is a perfect
Yeah,
example, works
yeah.
for you. And, what do you think about him? They don't know who I am. And why are you calling, and if you can't say something good about the young man or the young lady, we're already done. I mean, I don't care what you
Right.
shoot.
Well, he
So
missed his last 3 bag drop shifts, and yeah.
yeah, we're gonna have a chat. He's coming in after this. Actually, we're gonna have a little chat. No, but all
um,
jokes aside, it's tough because there's so much competition out there. There's so many good programs. There's so many good teams. I just wish more people would open up to every school and kind of go check them out. Because
that's a great point right there because sometimes and again, not to just keep going back to Bradley, I saw that where the players on our team were looking for the competition, but we had a number of players on our team that weren't up to that level, and they would have really enjoyed even a different competitive experience, possibly somewhere else. There's always that competitive experience at any level. You're still gonna have the same fire. You're still gonna have the same nerves. You're gonna have the same experiences. You guys have national championships. You guys have conference championships. Everything is the same at any level, like as
correct.
far as competition goes, right?
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, it's one of those things we could talk about forever. It's just there's a lot of kids that probably picked the right spot for them and their family. I mean, even here, I have backups, right? I got to be honest. I have kids that I hope that they come here and play for me, and unfortunately, they're my backup. It's going to happen. Do I treat them any differently? No, that's not my point. But they still have competition. They still have qualifiers. They still have a chance to make that plane ride or that bus ride or that whatever. But yeah, the kids kind of go with like that first show sometimes or the big, I call it like to wear the cool sweatshirt, and I mean, even if Aurora University is a cool sweatshirt, there's certain kids I don't want them wearing it, not to be rude. I want them to go feel it out. I tell that to every kid. I do believe I'm one of the few coaches. It's like, what I want from you? I want you to play college golf. The
Yeah.
minute you're going to quit the game or tell me you're going to quit the game or be unhappy somewhere, that's when I'm disappointed big time. Like I, I don't feel like any of my players feel that way. So that's where I feel comfortable and confident with Aurora University's program. But yeah, you're spot on. There's kids just riding the bench in other sports, just not just golf at different schools to kind of say they went somewhere. And man, I wish you'd come back here and see what the national tournament feels like here, and really feel like how much pressure that still is at this little D3 level, if you want to call it that. Um,
Well, so when players are showing interest in playing for you or reaching out, um, what type of things are you looking at just to kind of double check them? Are you using, like the junior golf scoreboard? Are you using stats? What are you using in order to kind of best kind of vet the player?
yeah, the junior golf scoreboard, it doesn't lie. I mean, it's pretty good, but there's some quirks to that too, in my opinion. I'm one of those that golf stat stuff for college, right? Like I think there's quirks to that. Even I'm not the biggest seller on the backing that, but
Yeah.
I know a lot of D1s and higher ups rely on it, and I'm not going to knock it. There's a lot of proof, but yeah, I want to get the work ethic. I want to see how much heart they have that they want to be there. I want to get hey Andy, you work with this young man or woman every day. Do they get dropped off? Do they drive themselves there? Do they show up and actually want to be there? Are they on their phone? Are they all that little stuff? Like, so yeah, the stats and the numbers, we can all look it up. That's there. But the extra stuff is where I think I've taken advantage of. Like I do put the extra inch in and and find out good personalities, good teammates, good people on there. That's a guy that I always use the same quote. Like I have 2 daughters, so I allow my players to date them at some point. Like it sounds corny, but if
That's
I can't say that, I don't
that's
know if I want them
true.
in my pro shop, right, working for me or
Yeah.
whatnot, or running my business or slash playing golf for me, vice versa on the girls' side. I want them to be classy. I want them to be professional. They don't have to shoot the perfect number every time, but yeah. So I do rely on stats, no doubt, but it's not the perfect example because there's players out that are really big schools, small schools that are doing really good things with the stats that didn't show that the proof is in the pudding too, if that makes sense too.
Absolutely. So, like in order, how do you expect to how do you expect a player to reach out to you? Do you expect the coach of the player to reach out? Do you expect the player to reach out first? Then maybe their teacher or swing coach? How much do you rely upon, video, things like that?
Yeah, there's no perfect science to that, in my opinion. But with today's world, I mean, we do lack. I think where I'm strong, and I think you're really good. The communication portion needs to start getting better and everywhere.
Sure.
So I'd love players to reach out first, and I really love the dynamic, unique emails, not the ones that say Mr. XYZ when my name isn't Mr. XYZ, it's actually Mr.
Yeah.
Wyeth. Like I'd like not the copy paste. I understand that saves time, but nothing cooler than a kid going, "Hey, congrats on the win last week. I saw that Justin shot a 68 there." Like,
That's awesome advice right there. Yeah, I love
yeah,
it. That's
yeah,
cool.
just it shows that you actually care. It's not a copy paste. I understand it takes time, but you're about to take 4 years of your life with me potentially. Let's take
Totally.
the time and let's do it. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not going to go back and say, "Hey, great job." And 4 years ago, I saw one stat line on you. I'm going to do some research on you back and forth. Nothing better than Andy to call me and say, "I got to tell you, this girl's a good golfer too."
Yeah.
I don't. I want to see all that. I want them to have a swing coach or someone that they can rely on. I want them to have someone to bounce back on. I can't be their only soundboard. You know what I mean? So I do believe in that. They're high school coaches, not a little bit of a call out. Like they're not involved as much as they need to be. I mean, that's not just one school though. That's universal. I mean, I take it serious. So if I'm going to reach out to your
Yeah.
coach, he doesn't get back. I'm already thinking, is this player good or not? But I don't take that too serious. But yeah, I'd like to see a text, a call, an email. I'm big on this. I ever since COVID, I think the greatest thing that I ever learned. I want to get face to face to you. I don't want a phone call with you today. This you're not going to see who I am. I'm not going to see who you are. Um, all jokes aside, you do a lot of good videos, right, Andy? I mean, I want to see who
So do
you know.
you?
Yeah, I want to see who you are. But again, that shows a lot of like, can this female or male talk to me? And if they can't talk to me once we get going, they're going to struggle, in my opinion. I mean, I'm pretty laid back. I think I relate to a lot of players, but yeah, no perfect science to that, I guess. But I guess, I definitely want the player to reach out. And if I'm reaching out to you, I sure hope you'd respond. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't care if it's like, who are you? What are you doing? You're not good enough. You're small. I don't care. Just give me where you're at. But for me to reach out and be a top 20 program or whatever in the nation, I don't need the respect or anything. I just would love, hey, coach, I'm looking to go south or I'm looking to do this. Just a simple, don't ghost me. Where technology, I see your read receipt and you didn't respond to me. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I kind of blame, I don't know where the blame needs to go, if it's on the player or what, but like we don't hear enough, we're going to spend time, we teach these players and everything else, and we don't know what they're doing because they're not communicating it back. It's like, it's important to keep this whole chain going so that we can best place them, best prepare them. You want your, coaches best prepared and how to basically coach you, it's like, I think that's one of my frustrations is, a player might tell us like after the fact that they're looking at this, and this school. It's like, well, maybe we have a relationship. Maybe, we can talk at a different level. It's like two doctors talking to each other and you're sitting in the patient room. You have no idea what's going on,
right.
but they might be talking, in just a different way about that player. So, um,
It's huge. I think you're spot. I mean, not to jump back to that, but there's been time that players have said, I'm talking to let's say I'm talking to Coach Wyeth and I reach back out to you and you're unaware of it, first of all.
yeah,
Second of all, they're not really reaching out to me. And that right there, we're all missing the boat, right? Like we're all kind of lying to each other without why, right? No one's did anything wrong. It's just let's just get on the same page as, hey, he's looking or she's looking to go south. Like I said, hey, Andy, don't waste my time. I'm not going to waste yours. We're good. I just want to see that young player play. So yeah, there's a misconnection there. Always has been though,
and it benefits
and
all it benefits all three. We love to see our players succeed. We're getting the players in the right spot, and you're getting players that you're going to be able to utilize.
win, 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 no doubt.
Yep, 100%. Um, Man, these are good. Um, one of the myths out there. I shared this example with Coach Roach when I was going through stuff with him. So I was a very good player in high school. My senior year, I was one of the best players in the state of Illinois. Didn't have a great state tournament, and I still thought schools would be calling, and I had basically less than three or four schools interested. As far as that recruiting process goes, the players need to do their part to get on your radar more than you trying to find that player, right?
Correct. Yep. Yeah, I mean, we've chatted a little behind the scenes on that. I mean, there's so much to it with golf. I mean, it's always kind of I beat that player, they've beat me, or I shot that one number and that player didn't, or I was at that golf course, and there's so much to it. But the keys are the body of the work, your background, your resume. You know, we're going to we're going to stay on your radar as much as we can, and you're going to stay on ours if you keep doing the right things and being the right, representing correctly. But ultimately, I mean, it's kind of a different way to angle it, but I would love to tell every player, and I am right now, just go where you are welcome and wanted, please. Like more so than ever. You will know it, you'll feel it. You're getting the texts, you're getting the emails, you're getting the calls. Not someone that jumps on ship when you shoot the one number. I mean, Andy, if you'd have won state and got called by
Yeah,
University of
Illinois,
Illinois,
Wisconsin, whatever. Yeah,
yeah, right. I'm not knocking the school, but
yeah,
would that have been the perfect fit? I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
probably not.
you won 3, 4, 5 times, I think, at Bradley, right?
Hmm.
Individually.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that's hard to do. That's a pretty good fit. Like that's not a knock to you. That was probably a good fit. You did your research. You kind of went
yeah,
where you're
sure.
welcome and wanted. I would call that a pretty good score, and vice versa. Same with my guys and girls, but you just see it so often. I call it the sweatshirt wearing or the hat wearing, like, go where you're welcome and wanted. I mean, so if you're doing the right thing and staying on the radar, I tell my players at this point, we're past signing day at D1 to a certain extent. Going to be hard to get back on their radar. If so, you're probably a backup plan. Not to be rude, you are. You might have to do a walk on. That's fine. All these things are totally fine if that's what you want. Um, but like I told you, you shot 80 at the sectional, or you shot 80 at state. Guess who's still texting and calling you because you're welcome and wanted.
Yeah,
And I'm that guy, and I don't change it. You shoot your worst score. There's other podcasts and things I've talked about this. I stand you more so. I want to hear how you bounce back. We all have bad days. I mean, we've
yeah,
all shot a million in the wrong scenario, in the wrong situation, but I still know what you were 3 years ago, and I know what you were 2 months ago, and I know our conversation.
yeah,
So yeah, just stay on each other's radar. But there's going to be 1 to 2 schools that you feel more welcome and wanted. That's probably with your heart and your gut. You probably should stick with them a little bit more, in my opinion.
that's awesome advice. With incoming freshmen, what do you notice? Obviously the game's evolving to be longer and longer, and everyone's hitting it further and further. Is there certain aspects of the game that you feel like are lacking coming in, even if a player is shooting, decent scores? Is there something that you kind of see? It seems like every single player is lacking this.
Yeah, I do and I don't. I mean, that's a great question. I mean, one, getting a swing coach or a plan, I do believe is important. Some don't have that at all, which that's a big time lack to me. I think a lot come in going, hey, I'm going to go to XYZ college. This coach is just going to transform me into this superstar, right? Like day one. And it's not even close to the scenario, right? I mean,
They
yes, we've
want
got
you to
kids.
come in prepared, right? You
Yeah.
want people to come in prepared.
Yep. So ultimately, I try to be funny about it, but it's the lack of hard work. Bottom line, in my opinion. Most kids right now, I follow a lot of people. I do believe in social media. I do believe in all that. I believe in keeping up with all of you. But most players, kids, students, whatever age, not to be rude, they want to videotape that they're working instead of work. Okay. And
Oh man, you're warming my heart right now.
yeah,
I say this message all the time: practice as if no one's watching.
all the time.
Like practice if no one's watching. That's the way to do it. I mean, I grew up hitting wedges for 3 4 hours in my backyard. No one gave a crap that I was hitting wedges. I
Nope.
didn't have Instagram to share it on.
Nope.
I'm guilty of that now. I share if I'm practicing, but
Absolutely. But
but
you got a
yeah,
business. You got a business. I get it now. I'm talking about, I'm a 17-year-old male or female. There is a reason why my number one's number one. The only reason you know who my number one is at my school is because of what they're doing, but you
yeah,
don't see any of the extra stuff ever.
that's
Um,
awesome.
I mean, they're hitting the balls into the pond on purpose to skip them just to see how they skip, right? But they're not
Yeah,
videoing it or whatever. They are doing all the right things. So, you know, it's kind of a call out because it's cheap too. It's just called hard work,
yeah.
and players kind of like, wow, this coach is kind of intense or he's in my face about this. No, it's just that's common knowledge. If you want to get a job too, you better start working harder, and I treat everything kind of like a job because ultimately I'm not putting people on the tour very often or ever or even attempting it unless that's their goals. But I am getting people really good jobs and I get a lot of calls about, hey, coach, you've done the right things. I can tell. It's not about their three putts. They show up
So
on time
my brother-in-law is the head football coach at Oshkosh, so
big
very
time.
much kind of in the same boat as you. And he goes, "It's unbelievable sometimes when I step back and I think my entire livelihood is dependent on a 19-year-old on whether or not they went out the night before."
100%.
You know, and
100.
so he's like, "I've got to do the best thing that I know how to do and coach the best possible way that I can coach because if I can go to bed at night knowing that I put the most effort into my players and what the players do is what the players do."
Correct. Yep. And that's where only time I pump my chest, I know that I go over and beyond for sure for my players. And I think that's why we're where we are. You know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
then let's be honest, I don't have a captain. My captain's me. Like I lead by example. I joke about it. Like I don't need anyone to go post that they're the captain or put the C on the jersey. Like I'm the guy, I'm the coach. I'm the person that's going to lead every day by example, possibly, you know, walk in the halls. I'm going to say hi to people, like little things like that.
Oh yeah.
You joke, but like the person that's trying to get recruited can't say hi to their teacher in junior year in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Probably going to struggle in an interview with me for a recruiting process.
Yeah. Or struggle in an interview for a job afterwards.
Correct. It's
Yeah.
all big picture. So
Yeah, exactly. Um, let's get in the weeds a little bit. What type of kind of mental things or tricks or stuff do you guys work on? Is there kind of drills that you've learned over the years and works very well with the kids that they should be thinking about or working on now to best prepare?
yeah, I don't like to go. I believe mentally I'm really good, but I'm not. Like I said, I used it before. There's no science because every kid's individually different. I do like to use the math stuff when I can. Positive energy, positive cliche stuff. I mean, sports is the definition of cliche and saying
Yeah.
these things. But when you read it and then reread it, you're like, that's 1,000% true. But ultimately, the one thing I've learned is you have to get these kids uncomfortable right now, like day one. Like put them in front of you, call them out. You have weaknesses, so do I. And I really like to always start with myself. Like, hey, yeah, we've had this success, this, and this. I'm terrible at this. I'm going to be open. I'm going to let you know how bad I am, but I also need to let you know that I've seen this during your tournament rounds or this during your practice rounds. But where I'm going back to, it's like even today at 70 and sunny, if they want to go out and practice, they can, but I'm sure hope it's an uncomfortable practice, whatever that means. I'm not talking about having to wear something weird to look weird. Not, I just want them
Yeah.
to feel in a group that they don't want to be in
Mm-hmm.
a pairing that they may not want to be in a yardage that they might not want to be, or maybe I take away their weapon. They're good with the driver today, whatever it is. Like, let's do a short game. I like to do a little bit of short game stuff, like up and downs, match play. Andy, you pick my club, and we're not picking three woods, but let's pick
Right.
a 52-degree. Coach, I know you're not real good with the bump and run shot. I'm going to call you out. Try it here,
Yeah.
and then match played up, put the pressure on the shot. Those practices can run themselves. Then also, it's like, guess who's falling in love with that? The players are. And next thing you know, I'm out on the course and maybe it is the 7-iron bump and run shot here, that I haven't done all day or all
Mm-hmm.
year. But I've worked on that shot. I've done that. So I've been uncomfortable. And, even back to like the mental stuff, it's like, what can I do from here till it gets warm again? Well, take that goofy trip down south that you have to eat a bad breakfast and sleep in a bad hotel and play in a bad golf course. Guess
Mm-hmm.
what? That's college golf.
Yeah.
And can you shoot a number the next day, and get uncomfortable? I mean, we don't eat fillets every night, neither did you
Yeah.
probably at Bradley, not to be rude. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, let's eat the uncomfortable meal. Let's do the weird thing of like showing up a few minutes before the tournament. There might not even be a range. What do we do?
Right.
You know what I mean? So like my big mental thing is just no day's perfect. No day's going to be perfect and no one feels bad for you, you know? Uh,
I
and no
like
one
it.
feels bad for me either. So I'm not trying to act like I'm perfect, but yeah. So mentally, I'm really big on the messages to them, always calling out the good moments. So I just I don't get why in golf we don't. I mean, it might just be something small today, but career low 9, career low 3 birdies in a row, or whatever it is. Like, let them know you're here for them, you're batting for them, and mentally, my biggest strength is I think my players would run through that door for me right now, and we're playing golf. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, you can't expect anything. You can't expect anything more than that as far as loyalty goes.
Yep.
So let's say you touch on it, but what would you say if you're a kind of a high school golfer with aspirations? Where's the best place to kind of start the whole college journey, college process, college thought pattern as far as what to do?
Well, the easy answer is, and find someone like yourself. You know what I mean? Like find a pro, find a GM, find someone, not only just a golf coach, because I love it. I mean, we're all over the place, but I'll have 20 people by in the next month for it's about the time for recruiting or whatever. And they're like,
Mhm.
hey, my golf coach is admitted it's not a golf coach, right? Like they're the greatest people in the world. They're driving me. I don't know what to do. They don't know really where to start. Well, there's the local pro, right? There's the local GM, there's the local someone. Hey, this is where I want to start. I want to get in a program. I want to get lessons. I want to get, your input on these 5, 6, 7 schools. The Google search is no brainer in the sense of here's my major that's got to be 1A. I don't care what anyone says. Your golf game's cute and it's fun. You got to have the major. You can't just go and keep switching majors around because ultimately there's going to be a day that you don't make it on my travel team, but you better fall in love with the school on those weekends and those days. So getting in someone like yourself's ear or a swinging pro, a teaching pro, getting into some kind of someone that can back you up and lead you the right way, but also reaching out, like I said, reaching out to coaches right away. I mean, there's really no flavor or too early at D3, so why not test drive? I've had a couple of players come by just to do the test drive of interviewing, and next thing you know, they leave and go, Coach, I got to keep Aurora on the radar. Like, I love what you're doing, and I'm like, we both won today, then, right? Like, I gave you a chance to go look at the next big school. I want to see you play. I'm not wasting my time for 3 hours. I'm benefiting. I know that you're going to go brag about the scenario today, talk about how cool or not cool Justin was, Coach Wyeth, and how good Aurora was. Either way, we learned something. I got better, but get by people, get in front of people, start interviewing, start check, come by and tell me how terrible it is. I'm good. I need to learn how to get better. You know, um, your golf course isn't perfect every day either, right? Like there's
Right.
little things, right? And I know I got flaws and I know we got weaknesses, but if you don't get in front of me, we can't work on them. You can't either. And I like to be the coach that says, hey, really good job leaving that recruiting meeting, but here's a couple things I wouldn't mind seeing from you. You told me you don't like to practice in the off season. The weight room scares you, whatever, all those little things that might have came up. Here's where it will probably take you to get to the next level, even if it's just Aurora University.
Yeah. So, one thing I missed, and I just saw it. Parents, how do parents play in the mix of this whole thing?
Oh, well,
One of the last
I love
questions.
that
I
one.
just
I
gave you a
gotta
hard
laugh.
one.
I'm sorry. You're a parent. I'm a parent. So I gotta
Yeah.
tread lightly, but a big time. They big time. I mean, I ran US kids golf and I still do in the summer, right? So I'm around the best of the best at that age bracket, if you want to call it that.
Mhm.
And there's some of the best people in the world. There's some of the best players in the world. And then there's some of the parents that just go, I'm checked out. You know what I mean? I'm just ultimately checked out. So if your kid's calling me in 7 years or whatever, we got a lot of work behind the scenes with someone else, and it's not little Johnny running around. So yeah, you from the beginning to the end, culture, culture, culture. That can kill a culture, right? I mean, I don't care what you say. I want every parent to be to dinner with us when possible. I want them at every tournament that they possibly can. I just took a picture in Destin, Florida. I had 5 guys, and I think I had 20 some people in the picture. Every one of them I love. There's no lying. They love the program. They back me. They back their kid, their grandparents, whatever, boyfriend, girlfriend, and there's a reason for it, right? So the cream of the crop does rise a little bit to the top with that too. You got to get out of their way. You have to let them grow up, communicate. I coach college golf for one reason. I openly will admit this. I don't have to deal with parents, and if I do, we're done. I mean, completely honest with you. And it sounds strict or whatever, but high school, you can email me. You can tell me Johnny or Jenny are sick or they're just not dealing well. I'm all in on that stuff. But when it's going to be questioning a program or questioning why or playing time, all that stuff, even at the lower level, why are they going to this pro or this, not this pro, or why they're playing this tournament or this tournament. I don't want to hear any input on the parent. I want to hear why the player decided to pick that, and they decide to be a man or a woman and play in that tournament because they chose to. And yeah, it's a big factor. I mean, stop lying to yourself if it's not. I mean, there are. I hate using the word, but there are cancers in the world of parents, right? I mean, youth baseball, youth soccer, youth golf.
Oh my gosh.
It's
Oh,
crazy town.
yeah, youth baseball. It's a nightmare.
Nightmare.
But hopefully, hopefully, golf is kind of that beacon on the horizon still.
Let's hope.
Man, Justin, I can't thank you enough, man. I wish you the best, and you're doing some great things over there.
Thank you. Yeah, no, your support's been great, and what you do at your club. and all the stuff you guys are doing is fantastic too. It's a lot of fun to follow.
I,
We're supposed to be like competing with you at one point when I was working it, and I still loved what you're doing. So now you're doing great things, and you got a great group there. You always have.
Thanks, man. Talk to
You
you
bet.
later.
Yep. Take care.
See ya.